Set, and that is the reason that for this meeting we do not focus on problems. Of course, we do not forget that we have to work, but we focus on the future, and let's get into that. Thank you very much, and let me first of all introduce Herb Nestler. Herb, where are you? Herb, please come forward. Herb is going to be the leader of our moderators. Herb is American. Herb has worked in communications and has been a journalist, and today you do communication consulting and training, I understand.
That's right.
We have chosen you, I believe, to have the most neutral person we can have to moderate this session. So you're out of territory, out of our jobs we are doing normally day to day, and well, you have the background to help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To have you here. Herb, turn over to you.
Good to be here. Thank you. It's a tough job to be the moderator when your own CEO is such a good communicator. Wasn't that a wonderful overview of the situation up to date? Thank you, Paul. Well, what is this job of being a moderator? And I'm only one of 4 moderators in our team. Just a moment ago, Paul mentioned one of our ministers. Well, our moderators are ministers. They're ministers to the government, to the city government. And I guess I would be the minister for law and order. Law and order in this case means I have to keep the process moving forward. I have to watch the time. I have to make sure that we get the questions answered that need to be answered. So a couple of points of law and order right away. How many of you have cell phones here with you this afternoon? Some of you, I'm sure. Have you checked that they are off? Please do if you haven't. During the meeting, we don't want any distractions. So if your cell phone is on, turn it off, or at least turn it on vibrate so that we don't have a tone. During the course of the meeting, I would like your permission to, from time to time, ask questions to try to intensify meaning. And I'd like to also have your permission, if I may, to remind our speakers if time gets out of hand. We have a very, very tight schedule, and it's important that we move on and we follow this schedule. In a day and a half, we want to achieve a great deal. So I take it by the fact that there was no dissent that I have your authority to do those things. Let me introduce the other ministers. One is standing over here, Vincent O'Neill. Vincent, come in here and let us see you in the light a little bit. Vincent has, some of you know Vincent.
You want to shake hands with him?
He is, of course.
Okay.
We're German, aren't we?
Yes.
He is a Fujitsu Siemens person, and he has here the title, we've added to your title in recent minutes, Minister for Discovery and Inspiration.
Aha, thank you very much. Yeah. So let's see if we can live up to that. Yeah?
All right, so Vincent has this interesting metaphor for us, and he'll be talking about that in just for the summer minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time for the Minister of Discovery and Inspiration to join me once again.
With pleasure.
Vincent.
Yeah.
We're talking about building the city of the future.
Mm-hmm.
We're in some sort of a virtual city here.
Yeah.
And you've been thinking about how to try to get this idea across of building for the future. What is the metaphor? What's this all about?
Well, let's take the inspiration and idea. You know, it goes back about 12, 14 years. Mm-hmm. And at that time, a guy called Professor Weyrich, corporate technology at Siemens, rented an abandoned, a desolate factory and put a team in to think about scenarios of mega cities in the future as one of the areas. So if you have cities, which will be the case of 20, 30 million people, what about the scenarios, infrastructures, communication, what do people do, etc.? And out of that then came the thought, if you have a big group of people, how do you get them involved? How do you get them to exercise their rights and duties and really participate? And that was the fundamental idea. So it's very simple. Every one of us lives in a city or a town. We live in a district, which, if everything's okay, we choose to live in. And the district, whether it's in Soho or in London, Schwabing in Munich, Manhattan in New York, whatever it might be, has a character or a flair. So, what makes up a city? The council in the middle, responsible for looking out into the future, planning for the future, developing the city, and the districts where people have their own interests, they have their perspective, but only together can they really develop that city. That's the basic metaphor. Barcelona, for example, from the time of the Romans, has changed and developed itself about 10 times. And I found for the last one, which was around the 80s, beginning and middle of the 80s, the guy who was responsible here in Barcelona, his name is Maragall, he said, a Europe seen as a set of nations is slower with more opposed languages than a Europe seen as a set of cities. Cities have no frontier, no armies, no customs, no immigration officials. Cities are places for invention, for creativity, for freedom. So that the idea here of the city is that we, all of us, as the citizens, become involved in developing this FSC City of the Future. It's difficult to say all in one. Okay, that's the basic idea. And afterwards, we'll go into how we work together on the 3 topics in the workshops.
I kind of like the way we've made it specific or concrete here in the room. If you look down, there are some gray lines on the floor. And you people sitting together, you have an area, and this is an area of the city. This is your district. And within your district, there's 3 neighborhoods, 3 groups, the first, second, and third row.
It's like houses in the district. Yeah?
And so we have 10 of these spread around the city center.
Yeah.
And we're going to be getting active this afternoon and then tomorrow throughout the day with you being active in your districts, coming up with ideas, feeding these ideas through a process of distilling to the city council and deciding upon how we can build the city for all of our benefit through the suggestions, the ideas, and the hard work of all the participants.
That's right. Yeah. That's the idea.
Sounds like an interesting approach.
Yeah. I think everyone will enjoy it, and I'm sure that what is most important is what comes out of the workshops, and that's very pragmatic, concrete action plans for developing, building our city of the future.
Here at the beginning, we've had to do a lot of work of listening. You've had to listen to a lot, and we have a little more listening to do still this afternoon. But then once we get beyond that process, you're going to be active, and you're going to be doing the talking, and you're going to be bringing the ideas forward.